Hey, everyone. It's Suzanne Taylor King here for another live episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And today, very excited for this conversation with Dr. Gary Sanchez. And I want to tell you a little bit of story, a little crafted story about 2009. Simon Sinek delivered a TEDx talk in front of only 53 people. And that talk, the Why talk, many of you, if you're in my network, would have seen that talk. And that talk has now been seen by over 100 million people. And one of those viewers was a dentist by the name of Dr. Gary Sanchez. And when he heard that talk and tried to figure out his own why he was struggling to find success, why was life not what he imagined? As a dental hygienist, I can pick a few ideas about why that is. And unfortunately, nobody had a system created. So he hired Simon Sinek to help him. And after months of struggling, he finally discovered his why. Not only did finding his why help him as a dentist, but it also set him on a path to help others. And now Gary is not only a dentist, so I'm sure he flosses every day, and we'll probably talk about that. But he created this tool, and as an entrepreneur, a speaker, and now an inventor of an assessment, he created that tool with you in mind. And you can discover your why, what, and how. And we'll talk a little bit about mine today. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Suzanne. I love it. I love the little ad libs in there.
Yeah.
Of course, knowing your why, and we'll get into that. There's no way you can follow a set path, right? You got to add a little bit of Suzanne sprinkles in there.
Of course. Of course. It's really, really difficult for me doing what I do to read something exactly.
Yep.
And well, I noticed when I discovered my why, this idea of challenging the status quo resonated so much with me. I've always been a rebel. I've always been a visionary. My friends in high school and college called me the instigator.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
We can dive into that and whenever you want for your audience. And
awesome.
I think they'll find it interesting because we'll talk about your why, but then we'll also, so knowing your why, everybody talks about why, right? Simon Sinek talks about it. Tony Robbins, Michael Hyatt, you go on and on. Eric Thomas, they all tell you got to know your why, got to know your why. Mm-hmm. And while that's important to hear, it doesn't do you much good unless you know what your why is.
Yeah.
Right. And then knowing your why really is just the first step. It's not the end. You start with why, you don't end with why. And adding your how and your what is what's going to put the whole picture together. And we'll do that for your audience, for you, so that they can see and how they could apply that to themselves.
I love that. And thank you for that. But let's back up. Yep. How did you come up with this as, well, one, as an assessment, but then as something that actually helps coaches do what they do? Where did that come from?
Well, I got to tell you, Suzanne, this is not something I set out to do. I didn't wake up one day and said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to create some software to help people figure out their why. That's not how it happened. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned in the intro, I was a dentist. And so I don't know, should I say was or am? I retired.
I don't know. Do you still practice? You still got hands in? No. Okay.
No. So I sold my practice about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. But when I graduated from dental school, the advice that I was given from the gurus of that time was build a great product and people will come. You probably heard that, right? Go out and do the best job you can. People will naturally, mysteriously find out about you. So I spent 20 years doing that, reaching the highest levels you could go to in dentistry, studying with the best mentors, going to the best institutes, building a beautiful practice, buying all the technology, training an amazing team. And I still blended in with everybody else who said, yeah, I'm a dentist too.
Yep.
Drove me crazy. The guy down the street who'd not done any of that was doing better than I was. And it just, I remember one day looking at my schedule, at my half empty schedule, wondering, how could this have happened to me? How could I work so hard and not gotten the results that I thought I would? Maybe some of your audiences felt that way or feeling that way right now. And so I was either going to quit or I was going to hire a coach. So I went out and hired a coach, a guy by the name of John Assaraf. You've probably heard of him. If you've ever seen the movie The Secret, then you know who he is. And through him, I learned how to use the internet, drip campaigns, SEO, build websites, do videos, so I could tell the world all about me. But the only problem was, what am I going to say? What am I going to say that separates me from everybody else who does what I do? What are you going to say? And what are the coaches and the entrepreneurs that are listening to this? What are you going to say that will separate you from other people in your space? And since I didn't know what to say and I didn't want to sound bad or I didn't want to sound desperate, I just stayed quiet until one day I heard John Assaraf interview Simon Sinek. And I heard that interview and I was like, man, that's what I'm missing. I have a great what, but I don't know my why. And so I watched his TED Talk probably 20, 30 times. I read his book many different times. And I said, I got to find my why. I got to figure that out. That's the missing piece for me. And there was no way to really do it. So I just called Simon and I said, hey, Simon, I need you to help me discover my why. So he and I spent about 8 months together going back through my life, looking for clues, trying to figure it out. And when I finally figured out my why, which is to find a better way and then share it, that's when my life really started to make sense to me. I have a lot of patents and products and inventions that are better ways of doing things. So, Suzanne, in my practice, we stopped talking about what we do, crowns, bridges, fillings, all that fun stuff. And we started talking about why we do what we do, what we believe, right? We believe that life is better when you have great teeth. In fact, you can't have a good life with bad teeth. And as we focused on our why instead of our what, that's when my practice really took off. We went from just getting by to having abundance, from, you could appreciate this, from 4 to 6 new patients a month to 35 to 45 new patients a month. And every year, this was back in 2010, every year got better and better and better. And so I started getting calls from other dentists that said, can you help me do what you did? So I went back and figured out what Simon was trying to do, and I found a better way. So instead of taking 6 or 8 or 10 months, I could sit down with you and in about an hour, help you discover your why. And I started doing this for anybody that would let me. If you were sitting next to me on an airplane, you were going to get your why discovered. If you're sitting with me at a restaurant, you're going to get, if you're in my office getting numb, you're going to get your why discovered. And so I did this for 7 years for thousands of people for free.
Wow.
And I just started to notice patterns and trends and similarities. And I figured out there's only 9 different whys. That was the most important thing I figured out. Because the way Simon was doing it, there was never an end point. You never knew if, am I there? Is this my, I don't know, is this my why? I think it might be.
Oh, yeah.
But kind of, sort of, maybe thinking that it could be your why is not very valuable. Knowing it's your why and feeling it, that's when it becomes useful. And so I started to teach other people to do what I was doing. And then I got a lot of data. And with that data, in 2016, I developed the WHY Discovery, that just found your why. Now, I've done more why discoveries, Suzanne, than anybody in the world. And I was only about 70% accurate. 30% of the time I got it wrong.
Wow.
And so if everything in your life, your passion, your purpose, your direction, your messaging, your marketing, your branding is all based on your why, pretty important that you get it right. The software was 100% right. I gave it away to hundreds of thousands of people for free. And just to test it, and got it right every time. And then in 2021, we launched the WHY.os Discovery, the Why Operating System Discovery, that finds your why, your how, and your what, and builds your personal message for you. And it takes about 8 minutes. And so that's kind of the quick story to get everybody up to speed. This is not something I set out 15 years ago. I said, hey, I think I'm going to go create this. It just kind of happened over time. And
well, now you can look back and connect those dots together of, you know, why it happened, and all, it makes sense now, right? When you look back. but you can never do that looking forward, so it wouldn't have worked even if you tried to figure out. You had to go through that. Like so many entrepreneurs, I hear the story of, struggling to stand out. I studied category design for years before it was even considered category design, but how to stand out, how to be different, how to, be authentically you. That's a big overused word today. But 15 years ago, going into the marketplace to be authentically you, no, you didn't do that. You pretended to be someone else. And I think that's where the whole imposter syndrome started back then, where I had my very first coach tell me that I needed a Paris photo shoot and Christian Louboutin shoes and a Birkin bag to be successful as a coach, for people to take me seriously. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. I'm not doing, and this is before AI photos, but unbelievable that I was made to feel like in order to be successful as a coach, I need to look a certain way. And now that's totally not true. And I love the fact that not only coaches, but even a dentist, an attorney, so many people can find meaning in their why. And I think it goes beyond meaning too. I'd love for you to speak a little to finding your why, giving you purpose, meaning, and clarity to be able to talk about yourself in a different way.
Yeah. One of the things we talk a lot about, Suzanne, is that people don't know what they want. One of the hardest questions in life is, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do? Where do you want to spend your time? How do you find your passion? How do you figure out your direction? How do I find my fit? How do I find my significant other?
Yeah.
I mean, those are very challenging questions, and people don't know what they want because they don't know who they are. Help them figure out who they are, and it becomes so much easier to help them figure out what they want.
Love that. The whole journey of entrepreneurship, I've probably said 1,000 times, is you doing self-discovery. I've done over 20 different assessments on myself, and compiling all of that information together with the help of AI. I've now done that for 20, 30 of my clients, and taking all of that information and then pulling it together and saying, tell me about me. And then going and examining how that feels and writing and thinking about it. That's the journey of entrepreneurship in a nutshell. And if you're not willing to do that, don't start a business.
I totally agree with you. So the WHY.os Discovery that you took is why you take action. So there's some great tools out there. Myers-Briggs, Colby, Strength Finder, DISC. They're really good. We like them and we use them. Those are how you take action. What we're talking about is why you take action. Why were you put here on earth? What was Suzanne put here to do? So maybe we should jump into that so that the audience can see. Should I bring it? Should I bring it up on the screen so they can see?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. I'm an open book anyway, so you might as well see into my assessments. Why not?
Okay, so we'll bring you up, and this is what it tells us. So here is your simple. Suzanne's why is to challenge the status quo, think differently. How she does that is by simplifying things, making them easier to understand, and then ultimately what she brings is a trusting relationship. But let's let you read this for your audience, where it says simple WHY.os.
I believe that success happens when we think outside of the box. And how I do that is by making things simple and easy to use. And ultimately, what I bring to the table is a trusting relationship where others can count on me.
And how does that feel to you?
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So let me dive a little deeper into that. And,
Yeah.
and if those of you that were able to see this as she was reading it, did you notice that there is no way she can read what is exactly on this page? She wouldn't read it that way. Not a
Oh,
chance.
I tried. I wanted to add,
Yep.
I take complex systems and processes and make them simple and easy to use. But I didn't. I really tried to read it as it was.
And that's because your why is to challenge the status quo and think differently, think outside the box. So Suzanne's that person that pushes limits, imagines extraordinary, sees things the rest of us don't. Just like Steve Jobs, like Herb Kelleher from Southwest Airlines, Richard Branson, they push limits. They think bigger. They get us to think outside the box we've put ourselves in. And then how she does that is by taking what she sees and simplifying it down to just a few things that are going to actually work for us, so that ultimately she can be that trusted source, like that guide, that trusted person that will walk us to where we need to go. And how does that feel to you?
It feels totally true. It feels simple and insightful. And it also feels that my ideal client, who's a founder or an entrepreneur, and they have all of this intellectual property to get out into the world, and they don't know how to do that. They're overwhelmed with all the shiny things. It sounds perfect for them.
Yes. So let's talk about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to this, or you have a piece of paper and pen or pencil by you, if you were to write this statement, these two lines down, I'm looking for someone who's looking for. And we'll do this with you, Suzanne. So and if we add your why and your how and your what to it, that will tell us exactly who your ideal client is. By the way, your simple WHY.os is the messaging that you need to have on your website so that you attract those people to you. And let's talk about your ideal client real quick. So I'm looking for someone who's looking to get outside the box they've put themselves in, or to think bigger, right? To challenge the status quo. I'm looking for someone who's looking for simplicity or an easier way to get there. And I'm looking for someone who's looking for someone they can trust to get them there. And that is your ideal client. Those are the people that will love working with you. They will value you, appreciate you, have fun with you, and you'll have a great time with them. You could work with others, but you'll probably run out of energy.
Yes.
These are the ones that are going to just really light you up, and you'll light them up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And let's go even deeper. So one of the things about the WHY.os Discovery, now we don't call it an assessment because an assessment is like a quiz or a survey, and there's 50 questions and everybody answers the same 50 questions. There's over 4,000 possible question options in the WHY.os Discovery, and I use logic-based programming. So everybody's going to be answering different questions, and it goes all 9 levels deep. You had to answer like 30 to 35 questions to get here, but it goes 9 levels deep. So this is you 9 levels deep. Wow. And these are all 9 whys. We all have all of them, but it's the sequence that's different. So let's go into you real quick. Top 3 here are your why, your how, and your what. Those are your non-negotiables. When you're thinking outside the box, when you're simplifying things and you're being that trusted confidant for others, doesn't get much better than that, right? You have unlimited energy for doing that.
No, it's actually, I don't have to prepare. I don't have to analyze or overthink. I can just show up and be that. It's amazing.
That's your zone. That's your lane. That's when you're having fun. You'd do it for free if you could, and you probably have.
Yes, all the time.
All the time. The middle 3 are kind of energy neutral. Okay. They're still important to you, but not quite as important. You're looking for a better way. You want to have an impact, and you want it to make sense. Those are just kind of the givens for you. And then the bottom 3 here are the things that take energy from you. They drain you. When you're given, mastery means diving in super deep. When you're given 30 pages to read, you're like, I'm not reading 30 pages of anything. I need 3 bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
You hate getting asked a whole lot of questions to clarify things, and there is no one right way to get there. There's multiple ways to get there.
Yeah.
Does that feel right?
Oh yeah. I have hacked a complete learning system for myself. And that goes, I've challenged traditional learning on this and simplified how I learn about a topic. And I told someone else a couple of years ago how I do that. And they looked at me like, what? That's insane. That's amazing. You need to tell everybody that. And I just thought, oh, I thought everybody did do that. So I didn't want to spend, 80 hours reading 10 different books on a topic. So I figured out a way I didn't have to do that.
See, you thought outside the box, simplified it, and came up with a way where people can trust the results.
Yes. Yes. And if I look back when I was a kid, yes, I was doing that.
That is why somebody would choose you over everybody else who does what you do. So that's why it's so critical to talk about that in your messaging, on your website, on your homepage. That's why someone would choose you. Now, the better able you are to articulate what it is you believe, the more you will attract those people that believe what you believe. They'll raise their hand. That's what I believe. That's exactly what I believe. I believe in thinking outside the box. I believe in simplicity, and I'm looking for someone I can trust. And the better you are to say that, the more you will attract that. And those are the ones you're looking for. Truly. But if you don't even know what it is you believe, for all you listeners, if you're not clear on it, it's very hard to say. And that's where some marketing messaging kind of pops in there, where it's not really you. It's just something that sounds good.
Right.
When you were talking about authenticity, Suzanne, that's how you create authentic messaging. It starts with you knowing you.
Yes.
And then you can create the messaging that's real to you, that attracts the right people to you. And so on that note of transformation, here's what I believe. I believe that people don't change. Everybody's change your brain, change your this, change your that, change your this. How often do you ever see anybody change anything for any length of time? Yeah, maybe for a little bit you could do a little change here and there, but ultimately, why? You're already good enough. You just need to know who you are. So when you find your why and your how and your what, when you can say it and you know it, then the goal becomes be the best version of you. Don't try to be somebody else.
Yeah.
What the world doesn't need is a muted version of Suzanne. We don't need that. What the world needs is Suzanne being the best version of herself. That's what you were put here to do. That's when you're going to love it. So you don't need to change. You just need to know who you are and then go be it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So much of entrepreneurship, coaching is who are you being? And, if you don't know who you are being, then you can't have a marketing message. You can't attract the right people to you. And I want to share my belief statements with you that I created after my WHY.os Discovery and my other assessments. And when I really dove into what do I believe about what I was doing, these 4 statements have been transformational, not only in my talks, in me attracting the right people, in me saying things a little bit differently and bolder than other people. So I believe in challenging the status quo, thinking differently, to boldly step into the confidence of being unique and different. If that resonates with you, you're going to be attracted to what I do. I believe that by enhancing your unique qualities, strengths, and gifts, that perspective changes and grows. So again, my clients are enhancing their unique qualities, putting it out into the world. The third one I love, I believe that my lifetime of learning, my personal habits, my emotional intelligence, and my study of myself will change your life and business trajectory. And then I believe that coaching is custom, unique, co-created with actionable steps, resources for simple, straightforward motivation and action.
Awesome. Awesome. If I could could I give you some feedback on it?
Absolutely.
I'm a better way guy.
Yeah.
My speaker coach is a guy named Joel Weldon, and he's 83 years old. He's coached over 10,000 speakers. He's awesome. Mm-hmm. And he always uses this line. He says, make it impossible to be misunderstood.
Mm.
So what you said is awesome. Make it simple. Make it shorter.
Shorter. Okay.
Make it 6th grade English.
Okay.
Make it so that there's no way I can misunderstand. And take out any I, me, or mine, other than the I believe, so that it's all you focused.
Okay.
But you're like, right. I mean, it's right. I like exactly what you're saying. Make it to where I can pick it up in seconds and I don't have to translate anything. You don't have to. So what you said after
one sentence, right? Making it one sentence.
After you said it, then you would say, well, what that means is that's what you should be saying.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because that's what you really wanted to say. You don't have to sound impressive. You're already impressive. You don't have to sound smart. You're already smart. The simpler language you can use, the more the people will get it. The more say, I get her. That's what I want. I don't have to translate it at all. So what you're saying is spot on. If you can say it in 6th grade English, it'll be even more powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. This is one of the things with messaging and, words. I love solving problems. And sometimes when you try to solve your own problems, you overcomplicate them. Other people, it's no problem to simplify that, right? To say to one of my clients, well, that's great, but say it in 5 words or less. Explain it to me like I'm 5. But doing it, this is why other people and having a coach and having mentors is so, so valuable, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And I'm going to take those 4 belief statements, I'm going to put them into Chat GPT, and I'm going to say, simplify this and explain it like I'm in 6th grade, and see what it says.
Let me give you an example, because here's how you can do it.
Okay.
I was speaking at this event called the Elite Wealth Advisor Symposium. It's the top 100 wealth advisors. And I was a kickoff keynote speaker, and the theme of the event was Becoming Advisor 2.0. Right. So I assumed that since they're all wealth advisors, they know what Advisor 2.0 means. So I asked the person putting on the event, there was 2 people. I said, what does Advisor 2.0 mean? Because I don't really know. And he gave me this long answer. And I said, okay, great. So then I went to the other person that's putting the event. I said, what does Advisor 2.0 mean? She told me something totally different. And so then I thought, I bet the audience doesn't even know what Advisor 2.0 means. So that's how I started the opening keynote. I said, today we're going to be talking about cracking the why code, becoming Advisor 2.0. So how many of you understand what Advisor 2.0 means? Nobody raised their hand. So then I said, I didn't either. So I went to Chat GPT and I said, what does Advisor 2.0 mean? And I put up this slide that had this big, long answer, very complicated. And I said, how many of you know what that means? And I said, I didn't know what it meant either. So I went back to Chat GPT and I said, in simple English, give me 3 bullet points for Advisor 2.0. And it said, using high-tech tools, focusing on the whole picture, creating deep and meaningful relationships.
Wow.
I said, can we all agree that that's Advisor 2.0? And they're all like, yeah. And now we're having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we were all on different pages. So that's what making it impossible to be misunderstood means. So all you got to do is put those into ChatGPT and say, in simple English, in 3 short bullet points, what does this mean?
I love that.
Yeah. And see what you get. I think you're going to be blown away. You go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I've been trying to say. And so this is great for your audience, for anybody that speaks, anybody that's doing workshops. Here's the takeaway. If you use a word that might have multiple meanings, or your audience doesn't know what it means, you have to define it.
Yeah.
So think about that with every time you do a presentation, a workshop. If you sit down to talk to somebody and you use these big fancy words, like I create the space for this and for that, like, what the heck does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? It can sound impressive, but maybe they don't. I could talk to you. I couldn't talk to you, Suzanne, but I could talk to your audience in dental speak.
Mm-hmm.
You and I could have a dental conversation right now, and they wouldn't have a clue what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking, because we have that common history. I was a dental hygienist for 20 years. And, before that 20 years, I worked in the dental office for 3 or 4 and just have this. I think most of the language I use about dentistry is from that first boss of mine. Shout out to Dr. Timms. And because of his caring way, his rapport, and my respect for him, I learned so many of his words for things, and the way he explained a root canal, the way he explained a crown was not how I learned in school. In school, I learned the book version. This is how you talk and this is what you say. And it sounded inauthentic, uncompassionate, and definitely the patient in the chair was going to be like, what the heck did she just say? And by learning his way of talking to patients, I was so much more successful as a hygienist. And I only ever worked in his office and one other, which that says a lot, to be in an office for 15 years and another office for 15 years. That's huge in dentistry. And I think it's because of that. One of my patients, you'll love this, that one of my patients, when I retired from being a hygienist, it was when my son was born, and he stayed in touch with me. He's a local realtor. And of course, I've referred business to him. His wife became a client of mine. And most recently, 30 years after meeting him and cleaning his teeth the first time, he became a client of mine as a coach. And we're still in touch to this day. He was my client for 3 years, and we just have this amazing referral relationship with each other.
Think about that in terms of your what.
Yes.
Creating trusting relationships where others can count on me. That's what you did all those years.
Yes.
That's what you do today.
Yes.
Why you do it is different. How you do it is different. But what you bring is that trusting relationship where people get to know you. They love you. Yeah. You're the trusted confidant. You're going to keep secrets. You're the one that I can count on.
Yeah.
That's such a valuable what to have. So I want
to understand it, Gary, to understand that for every single entrepreneur listening. And I know a lot of people, look at what I have now after being a coach for 16 years. They're like, oh, wow, she's so successful. They see, the online persona, and they see all of those things, and they think, oh, I could never do that. None of that came together for me until doing this work on myself. And I want that to be the motivation for people to not only, I mean, I want them to reach out to you and do the WHY.os and go down this road of self-discovery, but understanding that about yourself, that you bring this thing to the table, and I don't know, to have it align with who you are as a person just is freedom to me, to really be out in the world and providing more value to people.
Let's talk about that for a minute,
Yeah.
because one of the things that's a challenging question is, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion?
Yeah.
What direction should I go? Where do I fit? Okay. Some of you listening may have those exact questions going on in your head right now. So let's talk about that. I'm going to bring you back up just so we can use you as this example, because let me do that. We'll talk about passion right now. And why is passion so important? And passion is the fuel that gives you the energy to pursue your dreams. Without passion, you give up, you quit. With passion, you persevere. So how do you find your passion? Well, if what you choose to do with your life is in line with your why, your how, and your what, you will love what you do. You will have passion for what you do. And that's why it's so critical, because then you will get to where you want to go, because you have unlimited energy.
Yeah.
So let's take Suzanne for as an example. If we put you in a place, if you pick a career path, well, let's say you show up at my dental practice and you put on your business and you put on your resume, I'm good with numbers. Good with numbers. I said, wonderful. We have our new bookkeeper right here. Suzanne is going to be our new bookkeeper. She is great at numbers. And so we're going to put her into bookkeeping. So how would you do as a bookkeeper?
Horrible.
Yeah. How long would you have energy for a bookkeeper, to be a bookkeeper?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10
Because
minutes.
Suzanne does not want to follow the rules. She doesn't want to do it the way it's supposed to be done. She wants to think outside the box and do it differently. So if you want creative bookkeeping, Suzanne's perfect for that. But if you want it done the same way every single time, not a chance you're going to do that. But if we put you in a place where you get to think outside the box, get people to think bigger, get them outside the box they've put them in, get them to imagine extraordinary, do things differently, make it fun, make it exciting, make it different. And you get to then simplify it and be that trusted source for them. Well, then now how do you feel about that?
Well, you made me remember when I was working as a hygienist, and I said to my boss, I said, what's possible if your practice does $1 million a month instead of where we're at now? And his eyes got big and he looked at me. He's like, I don't know how we would do that. And I said, well, guess what? I know how to do it. Do you want to hear my ideas? And he said, yes. And if you can make that happen, I'll take the whole office on a cruise. We went on a cruise a year later.
Love it. See?
Yeah.
That's and for you, that's right in line. I mean, you love doing that, right? You love getting people to see things they can't see.
Yes.
Simplify it and say, let me take you there.
Yes.
So if what you do, so for all of you listening and watching, if what you do is in line with your why, your how, and your what, you will love what you do. You will have passion for what you do. And passion is that fuel that gives you the energy to pursue your dreams, right? Without it, you won't. Now, if you're not in a position right now where you're living your why, how, and what, that's okay, because many people are not. You can still do it, but you will run out of energy. Just know that you will run out of energy, and then you're going to have to pivot. So the sooner and the earliest you can get onto the right path, the longer your runway will be for you to create what it is you want to create. So what happens to most of us is when we're in high school, So if you have kids that are in high school, they are asked, what do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do with your life? Well, how the heck are they supposed to know? Very few know.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go to school? They don't know. So they go off to somewhere where their friends go, where it's a good party school or good football team or whatever it is. And then they're asked to make and this is what happened to us as well, is then you have to pick a major. I don't know what I want to major in. How am I supposed to figure that out? You pick something. Then that lasts for a little while. And then you got to pick, what are you going to do with that major?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do it. And most of us just pick something that we think is going to be good or give us the money that we want or the whatnot. And then we go down that path and we become invested into it.
Yeah.
So in my case,
why did you pick dentistry?
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my dad was a dentist. And I knew the lifestyle. And I thought this could be a good way to go. Yeah. And so then I went to 4 more years of college, 4 more years of dental school. Mm-hmm. And then you get into practice and then you start learning and then you start accumulating things. Yes. Houses, spouses, cars, kids. And now you're stuck. Mm-hmm. And you got to write it out until your kids grow up and you can say, okay, now what do I want to do? Yeah. And by then you're 45, 50, 55, 60. Mm-hmm. And now you pick your passion and you've got a very short runway to accomplish what you wanted to do. Yeah. What if we helped somebody when they're in their teens and 20s and younger figure out who they are at that stage, what they want to do, where they're going to find their passion, where they're going to find their purpose and live that life much longer. And that's my journey. That's why I want to do this. I don't need to do this. I'm compelled to do this. And so it's really about helping people figure out who they are so they can figure out what they want so they can go live the life they were meant to live. That's what it's about.
Perfect spot to wrap up. Perfect. Thank you so much for this conversation. My son, who's 15, just took the WHY.os and we're talking about it.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
For those of you listening, imagine the conversations that Suzanne can have with her son now, because what we do is tell people what I would do. Mm-hmm. Tell your kids, well, this is what I would do. Well, they don't care what you would do. They want to know what they should do based on how they think. Mm-hmm. I had one daughter. I had 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. One went through high school and college not knowing her why, because they hadn't figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. And I had one go through high school and college very clear on her why. One took 6 years to get through college, took a year off, changed majors multiple times, barely made it through, didn't have a great experience. The other one, leader of the pack, went through in 4 years, right straight to her dream. The conversations that we could have were totally different. One, I was telling her what I thought. The other, I was helping her figure out based on her why, how, and what would be best for her. Not what I think, but what she thinks. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So it's going to be fun to watch you and your son and the conversations you can have. It's hard for us to not tell them, well, this is what I would do. This is what I think. This is how, this is how I see it.
Right.
Well, they don't care how you see it. Right.
Oh, they truly don't. And that's a whole, we could do a whole show on that.
So I don't meet with anybody ever on Zoom, in person, unless I know their WHY.os. So if you're a coach, if you can make it a pact with yourself to not meet with anyone until you know their WHY.os, the conversations that you will have are so much more impactful and so much more powerful when you actually know who it is you're talking to. You can help them so much quicker. You can give them that aha moment so much faster. You can be that expert instantly. And then who are they going to work with? The person that knows them or the person that doesn't know them? So that might be a good spot to end as well. But I'm happy to connect with any of you coaches or entrepreneurs that feel like this would be something you'd want to explore.
I would love that. What's the website where everybody can find out more?
WHY.institute.com, WHY.institute.com. That's where you can find the why discovery and the WHY.os. There's a why discovery that just finds your why. There's the WHY.os that finds your why, how, and what, and builds your message for you. I think that's the one you're going to want to take. So use the code podcast50 and you can get it at half price.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you, and thank you for doing the work that you do in the world. And thank you for being open to have this conversation today. Appreciate it.
Well, then thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. Great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Check out Gary, follow him on LinkedIn, and head on over to the Why Institute website to find out more information for you. And of course, if you want to dive into that work with a coach, personally, I have numerous people to refer you to. And if you want to hear a little bit more about my story, about how self-discovery really fueled my coaching practice and took it to the next level 2 years ago, and it's still ongoing today, keep discovering that for yourself. Reach out. I'd love to talk to you about it. Have a great day, everyone.